वाला आज जो हमारा टॉपिक है वो है इंडियन फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम। आज जो हमारा टॉपिक है वो है इंडियन फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम। तो आपने आज हमारा टॉपिक है वो है इंडियन फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम। IFMS स्टैंड्स फॉर इंडियन फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम। इंट्रोडक्शन पढ़ते हैं हम IFMS का। The financial system of a country performs certain valuable functions for the economic growth of a country. The financial management system is a system that allows transfer of money between savers and borrowers. So, the financial management system is a system that allows transfer of money between savers and borrowers. In other words, the financial management system acts as an intermediary between these two, that savers and borrowers. The financial management system facilitates the flow of funds from the areas of surplus to the areas of defect. तो आपने सुना, the financial management system facilitates the flow of funds from the areas of surplus to the areas of defect and provides intermediation between savers and investors. A well-managed and organized financial system of a country leads to the development of economy of country. Features of Indian financial management system. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है। Features of Indian financial management system. The Indian financial management system encourages both savings and investment. Hence, it contributes to the economic development of the country. तो आपने याद होगा features of Indian financial management system क्या है? As the Indian financial management system, that's IFMS, Indian financial management system encourages both savings and investment. Hence, it contributes. तो आपने याद होगा the Indian financial management system encourages both savings and investments. Hence, Indian financial management contributes to the economic development of the country. The Indian financial management system helps in mobilizing and allocating one's savings. ठीक है ना? तो आपने होगा the Indian financial management system helps in mobilizing and allocating one's savings. The Indian financial management system helps in the expansion of financial institutions and financial markets. So आपने होगा the Indian financial management system helps in expansion and financial institutions and financial markets. The Indian financial management system plays a key role in capital formation. तो आपने the Indian financial management system plays a key role in capital formation. The Indian financial management system helps to form a link between the investor and the one saving. ठीक है ना? तो आपने the Indian financial management system helps to form a link between the investor and the saving person. In short, financial system is mainly concerned with money, credit and finance. So in short, financial system is mainly concerned with money, credit and finance. Components of Indian financial management system. तो आपने देखा components of Indian financial management system. A financial system can be defined as a set of institutions. ठीक है ना? A financial system can be defined as a set of institutions, instruments and markets which promote savings and channels them to their most efficient use. तो आपने याद रखना होगा a financial system can be defined as a set of institutions, instruments and markets which promote savings and channels them to their most efficient use. The financial system consists of individuals, savers, intermediates and users of savings. RBI as the apex body, ठीक है ना, organizes, supervises and regulates it. तो आपने याद रखा the financial system. तो आपने याद रखना इसके लिए the Indian financial. तो आपने पहले फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम किसको कहेंगे हम? A financial system can be defined as a set of institutions, instruments and markets which promote savings and channels them to their most efficient use. The financial system consists of individuals, savers, intermediates and users of savings. क्वेश्चन बन सकता है which is the apex body of तो आपने विच इज द एपेक्स बॉडी ऑफ फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम इन इंडिया, इसका तो आपने लिखा विच इज द एपेक्स बॉडी ऑफ इंडियन फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम, इसका आरबीआई। बहुत ही विच इज द एपेक्स बॉडी ऑफ इंडियन फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम, इसका आरबीआई। आरबीआई इन इंडियन फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम, आरबीआई एक्ट्स एज द एपेक्स बॉडी। आरबीआई ऑर्गेनाइजेस, सुपरवाइजेस एंड रेगुलेट्स द इंडियन फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम। तो अब सवाल बन सकता है Who organizes, supervises and regulates the Indian financial management system? इसका जवाब RBI। सवाल बन सकता है Who organizes, supervises and regulates the Indian financial management system? इसका जवाब RBI। The Indian financial management system. The Indian financial management system has four major components. Has more major components. So this means the Indian financial management system consists of four major components. तो आपने the Indian financial management system comprises of four major components of, तो आपने the Indian financial management system has four major components that comprise। इसका सवाल बन सकता है नेम द फोर कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ इंडियन फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम। इसका जो है फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस, फाइनेंशियल मार्केट्स, फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स एंड फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज। तो आपने नेम द फोर कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ इंडियन मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम, इंडियन फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम। इसका सही जवाब है फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूशंस, फाइनेंस मार्केट्स, फाइनेंशियल। तो आपने नेम द फोर कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ इंडियन फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम। इसका सही जवाब है फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस, फाइनेंशियल मार्केट्स, फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज। पहले बात करते हैं फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस के बारे में। फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस आर द पार्टिसिपेंट्स इन ए फाइनेंशियल मार्केट, ठीक है ना। Financial institutions are the participants in a financial market। सवाल बन सकता है who are the participants in a financial market। तो who are the participants या who are considered as the participants in a financial market, is financial institutions। The financial institutions are business organizations dealing with financial resources। तो आपने लिखा the financial institutions are the businesses organizations which are dealing with the financial resource। The financial institutions collect resources by accepting deposits from individuals and lend them to others। They buy and sell financial instruments। तो आपने कहा the financial institutions buy and sell financial instruments। The financial institutions generate financial instruments as well as deal in financial assets। तो आपने the financial institutions generate financial instruments as well as deal with financial assets। The financial institutions accept deposits, grants loan and invest in services। तो आपने याद रखूंगा पहले हम बात करेंगे फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस किसको कहते हैं हम। फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस आर द पार्टिसिपेंट्स इन ए फाइनेंशियल मार्केट। सो दिस मीन्स who are the participants in a financial market, is financial institutions। The financial institutions can be the businesses, organizations which are dealing with financial resources। The financial institutions collect resources by accepting deposits from individuals and lend them to others। The financial institutions buy and sell financial instruments। The financial institutions generate financial investments। The financial institutions generate financial instruments as well as deal in financial assets। तो आपने the financial institutions generate financial instruments। The financial institutions generate financial instruments as well as deals with financial assets। तो आपने फैक्ट याद रखूंगा the financial institutions generate financial instruments। तो आपने the financial institutions generate financial instruments as well as deal with financial assets। The financial institutions accept deposits, grants loan and invest in services. तो the financial institutions accept deposits, grant loan and invest in services. The best example of financial institution is a bank. तो आपने the best example of financial institution is a bank. तो आपने the best example of financial institution is bank. People with surplus amount of money make savings in their accounts and people in need of money take loans. The bank acts as a mediator between the two. Financial institutions are also known as financial intermediates. तो आपने सुना the financial institutions are also known as financial intermediates. Financial institutions can be further classified as banking institutions and non-banking institutions. Which means the financial institutions can be further classified as banking institutions and non-banking institutions. पहले बात करते हैं हम banking institutions. Banking institutions are also called as depository institutions. Which means the banking institutions are also known as depository institutions. Banking institutions include the banking institutions include banks and others credit unions which collect money from the public. So the banking institutions include banks and other credit unions which collect money from the public against interest. So the banking institutions includes banks and other credit unions which collect money from the public against the interest provided on the deposit made and lend that money to the one in need. For example, SBI, PNB, etc. सवाल बनता है give the examples of banking institutions. SBI, PNB. Banking institutions are controlled by central bank. तो आपने देखा which controls the banking institutions is central bank. बहुत ही important question है. The banking industries are controlled by इसके जो है central bank. सवाल बनता है the banking institutions are तो आपने who controls banking institutions. बहुत ही important question. Who controls banking institutions इसके central bank. The banking institutions of India can be broadly classified into two categories. The banking institutions of India can be broadly classified into two categories. सवाल बनता है name two types of banking institutions. इसके organized sector and non-organized sector. So this means the banking institutions of India can be broadly classified into two categories, that is organized sectors and non-organized sectors. ऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर किसको हम कहेंगे? पहले बात करते हैं ऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर के बारे में. द ऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर्स आर यूजुअली अंडर द कंट्रोल ऑफ सेंट्रल बैंक. तो आपने देखा द ऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर्स आर यूजुअली अंडर द कंट्रोल ऑफ सेंट्रल बैंक एंड देयर इज ए यूनिफॉर्मिटी एंड प्रोफेशनलिज्म इन सच सेक्टर्स व्हेन इट कम्स टू बिजनेस डीलिंग्स. तो आपने देखा ऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर किसको कहेंगे हम? द सेक्टर तो आपने देखा द सेक्टर the sector where there is uniformity and professionalism in case of business dealings is called organizing sector. तो आपने कहा the sector in which there is uniformity and professionalism is called organized sector. ठीक है ना? The organized sectors are under the control of central bank. The organized sectors are under the control of central bank. तो आपने कहा organized sectors are usually under the control of central bank. And in organized sectors, there is uniformity, professionalism when it comes to business dealings. The organized sectors are further classified into two parts, that is commercial banks and cooperative banks. So this means the organized sectors are further classified into two parts, that is commercial banks and cooperative banks. Commercial banks में कौन सा आता है? Public sector bank, private sector bank, regional rural bank, foreign bank. तो आपने देखा commercial banks में कौन सा आता है? पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स, प्राइवेट सेक्टर बैंक्स, रीजनल रूरल बैंक्स, फॉरेन बैंक्स, कोऑपरेटिव. ठीक है ना? उसके बाद हैं पहले बात कहते हैं हम कमर्शियल बैंक्स के बारे में. कमर्शियल बैंक्स के बारे में द कमर्शियल बैंक्स परफॉर्म द फंक्शन ऑफ एक्सेप्टिंग डिपॉजिट्स एंड लैंडिंग मनी. तो आपने याद होगा द कमर्शियल बैंक्स परफॉर्म द फंक्शंस ऑफ एक्सेप्टिंग डिपॉजिट्स एंड लैंडिंग मनी. The commercial banks offer various facilities like opening of bank account. तो आपने the commercial banks, तो आपने पहला फैक्ट याद रखना commercial banks के बारे में. The commercial banks performs functions of accepting deposits and lending money. The commercial banks offers various facilities like opening of bank account, short-term and long-term loans. Moreover, the commercial banks offer a wide range of other facilities to their account holders, such as overdrafts, deposits, interests, checks, etc. गिव द एग्जाम्पल्स ऑफ कमर्शियल बैंक्स, इसके सही में एस बी आई एच डी एफ सी, बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन बन सकते हैं. एस बी आई एंड एच डी एफ सी आर विच टाइप ऑफ बैंक्स? कमर्शियल बैंक्स, बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. द एस बी आई एंड एच डी एफ सी, बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन. द एस बी आई एंड एच डी एफ सी आर द एग्जाम्पल्स ऑफ विच टाइप ऑफ बैंक? इसके कमर्शियल बैंक. द कमर्शियल बैंक्स आर फर्दर कैटेगराइज्ड इनटू फोर पार्ट्स. The commercial banks are further divided into four. तो आपने the commercial banks are further categorized into four parts. That is public sector banks, private sector banks, foreign banks, regional rural bank. तो आपने याद रखना पहले. The commercial banks are further categorized into four types. That is public sector banks, private sector banks, regional rural banks. उसके बाद हैं फॉरेन बैंक्स. तो आपने कमर्शियल बैंक्स के किन से टाइप हैं? दैट इज प्राइवेट सेक्टर बैंक, पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक, रीजनल रूरल बैंक. उसके बाद हैं फॉरेन बैंक. पहले बात करते हैं हम पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक के बारे में. तो आपने याद रखा कमर्शियल बैंक्स के चार टाइप्स हैं. दैट इज पब्लिक सेक्टर, प्राइवेट सेक्टर, रीजनल रूरल बैंक, तो फॉरेन बैंक. ठीक है ना. सो दिस मीन्स कमर्शियल बैंक्स के चार कैटेगरीज हैं. दैट इज प्राइवेट, पब्लिक, रीजनल एंड फॉरेन. ठीक है ना. गोडनित क्या बन? प्राइवेट, तम पत पब्लिक, तम पत बन रीजनल रूरल बैंक, ठीक है ना, तम पत बन फॉरेन. पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक क्या होता है? द पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स आर दोज बैंक्स व्हेन मोर देन 50% ऑफ द स्टेट आर लिस्टेड ऑन द स्टॉक. तो आपने सॉरी, पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक क्या होता है? The public sector banks are the banks where more than 50% of the तो आपने public sector banks. The public sector banks are those banks. The public sector banks are those banks where more than 50%, where more than 50% of the shares is held by the government, and the share of these banks is are listed on the stock exchange. तो आपने याद रखूंगा पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक क्या होता है? पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक एक उस टाइप का बैंक है जहां पे मोर देन 50% ऑफ द शेयर्स इज हेल्ड बाय द गवर्नमेंट. तो आपने पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक, पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स, these are the banks where more than 50% of the shares is held by the government, and the shares of these public sector banks are listed in the stock exchange, on the stock exchange. तो आपने the share, तो आपने in public sector banks are those banks where more than 50% of the share is held by the government. तो आपने in public sector bank, in public sector bank more than 50% of the share is held by the government, and the share held by the government from public sector banks are listed on the stock exchange. Give the examples of public sector banks. SBI, PNB. सवाल बन सकता है SBI and PNB are the examples of which type of bank? इसके private sector bank, public sector bank. Sorry, the SBI and PNB are the examples of, इसका सही जवाब है public sector banks. तो आपने याद रखना इसमें पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक पे कौन आता है? SBI पे पब्लिक आसा ज्यादा, PNB पे पब्लिक आसा ज्यादा. प्राइवेट सेक्टर बैंक, द बैंक इन विच मेजॉरिटी और मोर देन 50% ऑफ द शेयर इज हेल्ड बाय प्राइवेट शेयर होल्डर्स. तो आपने याद रखना पहले पब्लिक में 50%, मोर देन 50% ऑफ द शेयर जो है वो गवर्नमेंट के पास हो जाता है. ठीक है ना. तो आपने पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स, the public sector banks are the banks where more than 50% of the share is held by the government, and the share of the public sector bank are listed on the stock exchange. For example, SBI, PNB. Private sector bank क्या है? The private sector bank is a type of bank in which more than 50%, in which, तो आपने private sector bank क्या होता है? The private sector bank is a bank in which majority or more than 50% of the stake or share is held by private shareholders and not the government or termed as private sector banks. तो आपने private sector bank किसको कहेंगे हम? The bank in which the bank तो आपने the private sector bank is a bank in which majority or more than 50% of the stake or share is held by the private shareholders, not the government or termed as private sector banks. Give the examples of private sector banks. बहुत ही मतलब give the examples of, बहुत ही important question है. Give the examples of private sector banks. इसमें ICICI तो आपने give the examples of private sector banks. इसमें ICICI ठीक है ना. Give the examples of private sector banks. इसमें ICICI, Axis Bank, HDFC Bank ठीक है ना. तो आपने give the examples of private sector banks. इसमें ICICI, Axis, HDFC. Foreign banks किसको हम कहते हैं? Those banks which have their head offices or headquarters located in countries other than India are called foreign banks. So this means those banks whose headquarters or head offices are located in countries other than in India. तो आपने होगा the foreign banks are those banks whose head offices or headquarters are located outside India. ठीक है ना, outside India are called foreign banks. For example, give the examples of foreign banks. इसका सिर्फ chartered bank, Bank of America, etc. बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट. गिव द एग्जांपल्स ऑफ फॉरेन बैंक्स. इसका सिर्फ है चार्टर्ड बैंक, बैंक ऑफ अमेरिका. बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन. गिव द एग्जांपल्स ऑफ फॉरेन बैंक्स. इसमें चार्टर्ड बैंक, बैंक ऑफ अमेरिका. रीजनल रूरल बैंक. बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. रीजनल रूरल बैंक. RRB, that is regional rural bank. RRB stands for regional rural bank. Regional rural bank or commercial banks that are set up to center to finance to financial needs of the people of the rural areas. तो आपने होगा the regional rural bank or commercial banks that are set up to तो अपने याद रखना रीजनल रूरल बैंक और कमर्शियल बैंक दैट आर सेट अप टू कैटर टू द फाइनेंशियल नीड्स ऑफ द पीपल ऑफ द रूरल एरियाज. ठीक है ना. तो आपने याद रखना होगा द रीजनल रूरल बैंक्स और द कमर्शियल बैंक्स दैट आर सेट अप टू met the financial needs of the people of rural areas. Both the regional rural banks or those commercial banks that are set up to meet the financial needs of the people of rural areas. Give the examples of regional rural banks. बहुत ही give the examples of regional rural banks. इसके बाद ग्रामीण JK ग्रामीण बैंक, पंजाब ग्रामीण. The first regional rural bank was तो आपने name the first regional rural bank. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट. name the first regional rural bank. इसका सीज में प्रथमा ग्रामीण बैंक. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. Name the first regional rural bank. इसके बाद प्रथमा ग्रामीण बैंक. Name the first regional rural bank. इसके बाद प्रथमा ग्रामीण बैंक. The first regional rural bank, that is प्रथमा बैंक, was set up in. इसका सही जवाब है मुरादाबाद. ठीक है ना. तो आपने होगा the first RRB, that is regional rural bank, प्रथमा ग्रामीण बैंक, was set up in. इसका सही है मुरादाबाद. उसके बाद है कोऑपरेटिव बैंक. कोऑपरेटिव बैंक किसको हम कहेंगे? द फाइनेंशियल एंटिटीज विच आर एस्टैब्लिश्ड ऑन ए कॉपरेट बेसिस एंड बिलोंग टू देयर मेंबर्स आर रेफर्ड एज कोऑपरेटिव बैंक. बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. कोऑपरेटिव बैंक किसको कहेंगे? द फाइनेंशियल एंटिटीज विच आर एस्टैब्लिश्ड ऑन ए कोऑपरेटिव बेसिस and belong to their members are referred as cooperative bank. These means that the customers of such banks are also its owners. तो आपने याद रखोगा cooperative bank. The financial entities, cooperative bank किसको हम कहेंगे? The cooperative bank are the financial entities which are established on a cooperative basis and belong to their members are referred as cooperative bank. It means that the customers of cooperative banks are also its owners. See, this means customers are also the owners of the cooperative bank. The cooperative banks follow the principles of mutual help and cooperation. ठीक है ना, तो अपने बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. The cooperative banks follow the principle of mutual help and cooperation. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट. The cooperative banks follow the principle of mutual help and cooperation. उसके बाद है unorganized sector. These sectors are largely outside the control of central bank. ठीक है ना, this means unorganized sectors. The unorganized sectors are largely outside the control of central bank and are characterized by lack of uniformity and professionalism in business dealing. तो आपने बोला the unorganized sector is that very sector in which there is no uniformity and professionalism in business dealing. तो आपने कहा unorganized sector किसको हम कहेंगे? Unorganized sectors, these sectors are largely outside the control of central bank. So this means in unorganized sector there is no control of central bank. ठीक है ना. So this means unorganized question बनता है who controls. तो this means is there any control of central bank? Is there any control of central bank on unorganized sectors? Well, no. So this means the unorganized sectors are largely outside the control of central bank and are characterized by lack of uniformity and professionalism in business dealing. The unorganized sectors are further classified. Yeah, the unorganized sectors are further classified as indigenous banks and money lenders. So the unorganized sector has two types, that is indigenous bankers. So the unorganized sector has indigenous bankers and money lenders. तो आपने सवाल बन सकता है the indigenous bankers and money lenders are the part of which sector? इसमें unorganized sector. तो आपने the indigenous bankers and money lenders are the part of which sector? इसमें unorganized sector. अब बात करते हैं हम indigenous bankers के बारे में. The indigenous bankers are private firms or individuals who operate as banks. ठीक है ना. The indigenous bankers are private firms. The indigenous banks are the individuals. तो आपने याद रखना. The indigenous bankers are the individuals or private firms who operate as banks. And as such, they too receive deposits and grant loans like banks. They are also financial intermediaries. ठीक है ना. So this means indigenous bankers किनको हम कहेंगे? The indigenous bankers are the individuals or private firms who operates like bank. As such, they too receive deposits and grant loans like banks. The indigenous bankers are also financial intermediaries. The area of indigenous bankers, बोलते हैं the area of indigenous bankers is limited. ठीक है ना. The area of operation, तो आपने बोला the area of operation in case of indigenous bankers is limited. They know their customers intimately. ठीक है ना. The indigenous bankers know their customers intimately. The rate of interest charged by the indigenous bankers is usually as per RBI norms. तो आपने the indigenous bankers charge the rate of interest as per RBI norms. बहुत ही the indigenous bankers also charge the rate of interest as per RBI norms. उसके बाद है money lenders. Money lenders mostly operate in villages. तो आपने the money lenders mostly operate in villages and usually charges high rates of interest. तो money lenders जो है the money lenders mostly operate in villages and usually charges high rate of interest. The money lenders cannot accept deposits, can only lend money. तो आपने the money lenders cannot accept deposits but they can only lend money. Agriculture laborers, small and marginal farmers, small traders, etc. usually borrow from them. तो the agriculture laborers, small and marginal farmers, small traders lend या borrow money from money lenders. The loans provided by money lenders are for both productive and unproductive purpose. तो आपने the loans provided by the money lenders. The loan provided by the money lenders are for both productive and unproductive purpose. At present, the activities of money तो आपने बोला at present activities of money lenders have been restricted by RBI on account of their tendency to exploit poor borrowers. They themselves decide the rate of interest. ठीक है ना? So this means the money lenders are nowadays being restricted by the RBI on account of high interest charges. Charge interest when loan is provided, given interest when deposits. तो हमने charge interest when loan is provided, give interest when deposits are accepted. उसके बाद हैं नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस. नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस. Non-banking financial institutions. The non-banking financial institutions or the financial institutions that does not have a full banking license and cannot accept deposit from public. तो आपने होगा non-banking financial institutions are those financial institutions which does not have a full banking license and they cannot accept deposits from the public. क्वेश्चन बन सकता है द नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस आर आल्सो नोन एज नॉन डिपॉजिटरी इंटरमीडिएटर्स. ठीक है ना? इंटरमीडियरीज. द नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस आर आल्सो नोन एज नॉन डिपॉजिटरी इंटरमीडिएटर्स. Thus, non-banking financial institutions are those financial institutions that does not have a full banking license and cannot accept deposits from the public. The non-banking financial institutions are the non-banking financial institutions are regulated under the Companies Act 1956 and Sastrava. तो आपने बोला the non-banking सवाल बन सकता है the non-banking financial institutions are regulated by इसका सही जवाब है Companies Act 1956. सवाल बन सकता है the non-banking financial institutions are regulated by इसका सही है Companies Act 1956 and Sastrava. The non-banking financial institutions can further be classified as development finance institutions and investment institutions. ठीक है ना? The non-banking financial institutions can be classified as the non-banking financial institutions are further classified into development finance institutions and investment institutions. तो आपने the non-banking financial institutions are further categorized into development financial institutions and investment institutions. So the non-banking financial institutions are further classified into development institutions and investment institutions. Development finance institutions. The development finance institutions are set up for the development of economy. The development finance institutions are set up for the development of economy, such as providing infrastructure facilities. ठीक है ना? So the development finance institutions are set up for the development of economy. The development finance institutions provide infrastructure facilities. The development finance institutions provide medium to long term the development finance institutions provide medium to long term funds so as to meet long term growth of the nation. Give the examples of development finance institutions. बहुत important. Give the examples of development finance institutions. Give the examples of development finance institutions. इसके इसमें IDBI, SIDBI, NABARD, etc. ठीक है ना? तो आपने कहा गिव द एग्जांपल्स ऑफ डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूशंस. बहुत ही गिव द एग्जांपल्स ऑफ डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूशंस. इसमें IDBI, SIDBI, NABARD, etc. The development finance institutions are also included leasing companies, hire purchase companies, etc. उसके बाद हैं investment institutions. Investment institutions. Investment institutions. Investment institutions The investment institutions includes those financial institutions that invest the pooled capital of investors in financial securities. तो आपने देखा investment institutions include those financial institutions that invest the pooled capital of investors. बहुत important question है. The investment institutions includes those financial institutions that invest the pooled capital of investors in financial securities. बहुत important question. The investment institutions includes those financial institutions that invests the pooled capital of investors in financial securities. बहुत important question है. The investment institutions are those financial institutions which invest the pooled capital of investors in financial securities. In other words, the investment institutions mobilize savings of the public at large and invest in corporate and government services. So आपने the investment institutions mobilize savings of public at large and invest in corporate and government services. The investment institutions includes insurance companies, pension funds, mutual funds, etc. ठीक है ना, mutual funds, etc. तो आपने डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूशंस में आपने याद रखना, डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूशंस क्या होते हैं? द डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूशंस आर सेट अप फॉर द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ इकोनॉमी. ठीक है ना. द डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूशंस आर सेट अप फॉर द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ इकोनॉमी सच एज प्रोवाइडिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फैसिलिटीज. द डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूशंस प्रोवाइड, तो आपने द डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूशंस प्रोवाइड मीडियम टू लॉन्ग टर्म फंड्स सो एज टू मीट लॉन्ग टर्म ग्रोथ ऑफ नेशन. Give the examples of development finance institutions, इसके IDBI, SIDBI, NABARD, etc. Investment institutions क्या होते हैं? Investment institutions are those financial institutions that, तो आपने the investment institutions are those financial institutions, तो आपने याद रखना होगा, the investment institutions are those financial institutions which interest the, the investment institutions. ठीक है ना, investment institutions है question. The investment institutions include those financial institutions. तो आपने बोला the investment institutions are those financial institutions which invest the pooled capital of investors in financial securities. तो आपने बोला the investment institutions are those financial institutions which invests the pooled capital of investors in financial securities. In other words, the investment institutions mobilize savings of the public at large and invest in corporates and government services. The investment institutions, give the examples of investment institutions, इसके सिर्फ है insurance companies, pension funds, mutual funds. तो थोड़ा बहुत हम रिकैप करते हैं कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ IMFS, दैट इज इंडियन फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम. कंपोनेंट्स मेनली देयर आर 4 main components of IMFS, that is financial institutions, financial markets, financial services and financial instruments. Financial institutions can be banking financial institutions and non-banking financial institutions. Banking financial institutions are further categorized into organized and unorganized sector. So this means there are 4 components of IFMS, that's Indian Financial Management System, that is financial institutions, financial markets, financial services, financial instruments. Financial institutions are further categorized into, divided into, the financial institutions are divided into banking financial, the financial institutions are